We said today we're having a devolution conversation. In the previous hour, we had a representative of the County Assembly's Forum. Now we have a representative of the Council of Governors, the Governor of Mombasa County, the Honorable Abdulswamad Sharif Nassir. Good morning.
Morning to you.
How you doing?
So far, so good.
Kwema is this?
Tunashukuru kabisa.
Ask him, Kwema.
Kabisa.
She learned that word the other day. I was like, hiya.
It's another word I didn't know.
It's a greeting. What should you respond when someone asks you, Kwema?
Kuko salama kabisa. Kwema, salama. I think Kwema is it's
good.
more like all's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is all well? Kuko sawa kabisa. Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest
Asante
conversation.
sana.
The last
Thank you
time you were in the Situation Room, you were a member of parliament
Yes, I was.
for Mvita. And now here you are the governor of the entire county of Mombasa.
Yes, thank God for this opportunity to serve. Initially, I was to represent. Now it is to be able to execute. Different roles, same people, different angle of expectations. But so far, so good. It's been an amazing journey. We hope to be able to deliver on what it is that we've been able to promise the people.
Let's talk about that shortly. To welcome you to the show, City,
Yes,
the day's proverb.
yes. Our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the country of Ivory Coast, known as Old Cote d'Ivoire, and do mention to me that it's the same name. It's just that one is in English, the other one is in French. Okay. Save your fowl before it stops flapping. That is the proverb.
Save your fowl before it
Stops
flapping.
Yes.
Eh? Fowl here being ndege, bird.
Chicken. When it's flapping, usually it's a distress call. So if it's just flapping, there's a problem.
You're fine.
And if it stops, things are not fine at all.
Governor, what's your interpretation of this?
These are one of those things you need a minute or two to be able to digest.
No?
Interpret.
Took us a while as well.
Exactly. Save your fowl
Before it stops flapping.
before it stops flapping.
Yes.
It's very true. These are one of those catch-22. If it flaps, is a problem. If it doesn't flap at all, this is another problem. Probably is dead.
Well put.
Governor, many
Interesting.
issues. Last week, on a day like this, we hosted the leadership of the medics in the country, medics unions, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, and the Kenya Clinical Officers Union. And they were telling us, you know what, in a couple of hours' time, people will not be able to report to work. And one of those counties that they were talking about was Mombasa. And of course, by the time that day came, you had already sorted out the workers.
The salaries,
But
yes.
what is it that was happening? What was happening last week?
It's actually very simple. And I want to speak on behalf of the county of Mombasa. I cannot be able to speak on behalf of every other county. Every other county has its own governor and they have their own issues. But the situation in Mombasa is very simple. You've got salaries of 480 million is what it is that you have to pay in terms of salaries. 600 million is what you're getting in terms of equitable share, around 600 million. So when you take 480, that's 600 million, that you're remaining with about 120. In the spirit of devolution, the county assembly needs to run and they need to be financed. And part of the financing comes from the equitable share or on-source revenue. You're looking at about 60 million. Just our power bills are in the region of about 30 million. For us to be able to move our trucks, collect garbage and everything, the cost of fuel in Mombasa is an average of another 15 million. And nothing goes less. Everything rises higher and higher. When you add all these figures up, they actually probably surpass even what it is that you're getting. We had an arrangement, an excellent arrangement with Kenya Commercial Bank. where this is going to be in terms of sorting out cash flow. That means every time that money does not come in, they come on board and pay. But there's a limitation as well. This time round, money has not been able to flow in for about 4 months. By then, we had not been paid December, January, February, March, April. And when you look at it now, so we had to sort out using on-source funding. We did what had to be done, and we paid the salaries. And anyway, we had already planned to pay way before. Unfortunately, without money being able to come in, counties will end up being stuck at any given time. I'm hoping to be meeting all the medics tomorrow to discuss with them one of the issues that I want to present to them. And I might as well say it here. I know that they're going to be listening to this. We need to come up with a permanent solution. Mombasa has a county corporation, which is the Coast General Hospital. The Coast General Hospital, I've tasked them that they need to look for ways for them to be able to be independent, financially independent. And what we now want to do is convert the amount of money that we have been paying Coast General employees, because you see those employees are being paid by the county government. But they report to the Coast General Hospital. It's like saying Kenyatta National Hospital, doctors there are not being paid by Kenyatta National Hospital, but they are being paid by national government. So the conversation that I've had with the board of Coast General and the CEC for Health and the whole management of Coast General is that you need to take on board these employees under similar terms and conditions. So that means you're simply falling from this hand to go to this hand. We will commit financing the Coast General Hospital a certain amount of money, which will probably be more or less around the same amount of money which will be in terms of salaries. But we convert that into a development expenditure. And the on-source revenue, which Coast General is already generating anyway, they use that on-source revenue to now convert it in terms of salaries. So this basically assists us in terms of cash flow, because Coast General will be able to pay those particular employees. The county government will also be able to be released of that financial pressure at the end of the month, because a decent chunk of the salaries actually goes to medics. So it's a win-win for everyone. The only thing that the medics will happen is that their salaries are simply going to be coming from the Coast General Hospital under similar terms. That means if you're pensionable, your pension does not die. But this time round, what it simply means is that you're being paid by the corporation. The same way the employees at Mombasa Water are being paid by Moasco and not being paid necessarily from the county
and
government.
This is sustainable, Governor. Are we looking at something that is sustainable, or is it looking at a certain period of time?
No, this is actually the most sustainable. This is the most sustainable, because you're easing the burden on the county government in terms of employment, in terms of salaries. At the same time, you're simply telling the Coast General that we will be able to finance you this amount of money over a certain period of time. Because Coast General, as it is, the revenue, the receipt patients. Coast General Hospital right now, one of the plans that we actually have, and this is going to be rolled out in the next 10 days. Hopefully we're going to be advertising on how the modalities will be. Is what we want to do right now is roll out 10,000 NHIF. Health being an issue, with the primary beneficiaries being county health facilities. So from all levels of hospitals, we're going to be having those beneficiaries being there, so that money now rotates back. NHIF is one of the biggest sources of funding for the Coast General. So if the county government continues funding through the Mombasa Care Program, which is a program that we promised during the campaigns, and we want to now launch it. Initially, it's going to be about 10,000 families. Thereafter, I'm hoping before the end of the year, when I say the year, not the financial year, but the year meaning December, we are going to be able to increase that amount of people. The Coast General Hospital right now has huge facilities, CT scans, you name it, all this medical. And we're now saying that we need to probably, because we have land right next to the sea, partner up and do exactly what Kenyatta National Hospital has done and the other hospitals have been able to do, put up a private doctor's plaza. It's going to be in a Robin Hood kind of a thing, that if you want to be able to have a seaside and use our CT scan facilities, and you want to have your chicken for breakfast, you pay for it so that we can be able to finance and help the poor. But the immediate short term, and it's not even just short term, but immediate solution that can be able to be sustainable permanently, and it's a win-win for every single person, is we simply take that wage bill and load it onto Coast General.
How much of the 480 million a month would you be able to offload from the county treasury?
And this is not just for all the medics. This is just for the medics who are currently at Coast General. We're looking at about 110
Health workers.
110 million shillings every
110
month
million shillings.
Yes.
would actually go now to be. And currently, what's this arrangement? So Coast General Hospital is obviously generating revenue.
They do generate revenue, but
And
you
then
see,
they bring it to the county.
No.
treasury. What do they do?
they have their own revenue where now the board plans, then they take it to the CC. The CC, of course, now brings it to the cabinet with concurrence that this is the plans that we have to make the Coast General grow. So what we are saying is they need to now be independent. Independent in the sense that allow the county government to finance their development. But their own source that they want to do that development purposes goes to pay the salaries. Now, it's simply
Sounds
just...
like it's one or the other. I mean, currently...
yeah, but you see,
their
one
own
thing I
revenue-
will not be able... I will
Hold
not.
on, Governor. Currently, their own revenue is going towards their own development.
Right,
Right? And their staff are paid by the county.
right.
You want to swap them around.
We want to
So
swap
your
them
own
around.
revenue now starts paying your own staff.
Right.
And then the county will finance your development.
Exactly.
I see a risk.
Not at all.
If the county is not able to pay the staff
We're not paying the staff. This is what I'm explaining. The risk that is there.
currently, if the county is currently having challenges paying the staff,
Right.
the county will in future be having challenges financing development of Coast General Hospital.
Not at all.
Ask what it is their revenue is. Because
Actually, these figures have already been. We've gone through these figures. I want to say one thing. Our financial levels right now. You also need to be able to understand that if I was able to offset salaries for last using on-source revenue, that means we're also doing something right. It does not mean that we're not growing. It does not mean that we are stagnant. It does not mean, and that's even worse, that we're actually declining. What that means is that we've been able to be stable. Secondly, this also goes hand in hand. Control of budget today will be raising questions the next time we want to do our budgets, and the control of budget is going to start asking your salaries are surpassing
Your ceiling.
the required mandate for what should be in terms of your recurrent expenses. So what does that do? You're reducing. Even the banks themselves are better placed of saying that, let this financing go into the element of development. One thing that, and you said that there's a risk of probably Coast General not being able to get the development fund. One thing that I cannot be able to do does not mean that we're unable to pay that 110 or that 300 balance on that other side. The issue is getting it all at a go. And the reason why it's an issue getting it all at a go is because I will not pay executive and leave the sweeper I will not pay the person who is a sweeper and leave out a medic. Equally, I will not pay a medic and leave out someone else. So the day that someone gets a salary, it is actually concurrent. It's at the same time. The same button that is used to pay the governor is the same button that is used to pay every single other person.
Okay.
So that's the reasoning that is behind there. And look, again, the figures have been looked at. We've discussed this with at length with all those that are concerned, and it is sustainable. And for argument's sake, because of cash flow, I'm unable to give them that 110 million to Coast General for the next 10 days, just for argument's sake.
Yeah.
Coast General has its own revenue that they're already collecting
On a daily basis.
So they can be able to do that, to give us as well a breather of that 110 million for the next 10 days or the next 15 days, which we're not foreseeing that to be a situation. In fact, we've even done other things that we want to do as well, is to actually commit ourselves to financial institutions that this money has to be paid to Coast General.
Sure. I mean, so we're looking at the health issue, obviously, as one of the biggest ones that needs to be dealt with. There are other things in the county.
And probably just before sorry, I'm cutting you short, but if you want to know that we can actually be able to do this and this is sustainable, we recently hired about 50-something employees at the Coast General Hospital. They're on contract currently because we had an outbreak and we could not start sitting down. Before we do that, we had to look at the figures. Can Coast General be able to pay? And yes, we can be able to pay. That's why we took in these 50-something people with the hope that after this 6 months, then we consider giving them the long-term contracts as well.
So take that magnifying glass and then put it on other things that are happening within the county. I remember during your campaigns, one of the things that you spoke about was, the infrastructure in Mombasa, throughout the county, not just in the city, but, around. And so if you can use that health and put it up against all these other things and ask then, how then are you going to be able to sort out some of these other issues? Own source revenue, you said it's clear that some of this money that you used to pay has come from own source revenue as you wait for, national government to do what it's going to do whenever. We saw the floods. We've seen the rain is coming in and we've seen the drainage is an issue within the city. We saw a video of a young man who in the neighborhood was able to put his hand down a drain and, move some of the stuff and the water passed through. So that was indicative that something can actually be done about the drainage issue. So the question is, what's going on with that? Because that was one of the things that you mentioned during the campaign. And you said, look, these are things that we can fix. Infrastructure, we can get it working again. We can get water running through the city and other parts of Mombasa. The drainage is a big one now because it seems as though literally Mombasa is underwater.
I concur, but at the same time, there's certain sentiments that I'll not be in agreement with. To change and to sort out the drainage system in Mombasa is a multiple approach onto it. One, over the years, we've had a lot of people who ended up doing a lot of illegal connections. It's very unfortunate, but these are the instructions that I've given to the CEC, that before someone even occupies, they need to get an occupation permit. Before you even start leasing your property, you need to get an occupation permit. And the occupation permit basically now confirms that yes, this person built and they were able to put in a biodigester. Did the sewer go to where the sewer is meant to be, or did they take the sewer and put it in the stormwater, which the stormwater is the one that handles the issues of the drainage. The word drainage that is being used right now is actually stormwater that is meant to pass. A lot of people, what ended up doing is some people built on actually the waterway, the place where it has actually been planned, that if it rains, this is the the passage of water is going to be on this side. We had to go. I was personally in Utange the other day, and I had to literally go there, and we got an excavator, and they were working all the way until at night to make sure that they had to dig out. Someone had actually gone and built, because they felt that it was going to be easier for them to bring in their vehicles. And they just went and built. In the process of doing that, all that you have done becomes null and void. The other issue that I'm also writing to the road agencies, that the Physical Planning Act is very clear. You can't just go and dig anywhere within a county, not just Mombasa, within any county, until you're able to get the necessary permits from the county government. It's actually law. This is that for a long time, everyone is just going. Kibarani, I'll give you an example. So the drainage has been there over the years. We've never had this problem. But it's never rained that heavily. We now realize that when they were doing that road, Kenha, they actually went and blocked the drainage. So it's not that the system was not there. Railway roundabout. By the time it didn't stop raining, but by the time it kind of fizzled out, and it was still raining, but by the time it fizzled out, in less than 30 minutes, there was no water there. There's some things that it was impossible to be able to contain. There is no way. I'll give you an example. You have a bottle, this is the size of the bottle. If you take a bucket and try and pour water in, it's definitely going to overflow eventually. Whatever you do, it does not mean that was something that was a continuous problem. Do we have a problem? Yes, we do. Is it maintainable? Yes. If you're looking at saying that you want to redo the whole drainage system in Mombasa, it's a couple of billions that will be needed, couple of billions. I want to thank Trademark. Trademark partnered with us. We've been able to do and that's why the area of Nyerere Avenue, when it rained this time round, the water stayed there. It was not stagnant, but the water was there because as water was passing through, at the same time, it was still continuously raining heavily. So yes, you will be able to see puddles. But again, it's also equally important for people to realize that this has happened in the most developed countries in the world.
Yeah. But Governor, Mombasa, it rains, expect floods.
This
is the issue, and that's why you even included it in your own campaign.
It is true.
Because
what I'm saying is, one, we worked with Trademark East Africa. They're currently doing another phase of our. They've actually just advertised for another phase of our drainage system. Some of the things that needed to be sorted out was just the cleaning. We recently came up with a program, the Mombasa Young program, where I brought in 2,000 young people from Mombasa. And we did this as a phase 1. We just launched phase 2. And these young people have been doing an excellent job. What I'm saying is, what was once something that would have to sustain and the water remaining there for a whole day or probably 1.5 days, this time round, water went in less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, but in those 30 minutes, Governor, from the pictures that we've seen, homes
destroyed,
got flooded.
That there's no doubt about that.
Right?
But first of all...
So the thing is, what are you telling those people whose homes got flooded, who got affected? What are you telling them? Are you telling them this time it's better because it only entered your house for half an hour?
Not at all. When I'm talking about the half an hour, I'm looking at exactly the areas that you talked about, the CBD. That is what I'm referring to. The other areas that you're referring to, Eric, where water entered all the way into houses, an area like Utange that I went to personally, is because people just decided to build. And I'm telling you that the one that you're talking about, Bamburi area, people just decided to build. And the instructions that I have now given is any single person who built, one, if it was an illegal, the first thing that we're going to have, the conversation that we will have, if it was an illegal, construction that you went and built and without any necessary permits is we need to regularize you. My interest is not to go and shatter an already
not demolish.
staggered. Hear me out. My interest is not going to shatter an already staggering economy. So first thing that we will do, try and figure out, can we be able to regularize this mess? You pay the necessary penalties. We try and see, is there a way that this and this can be able to be done? Can it be done? It's going to be a win-win for everyone. 2, if you are given a permit and that permit was done by someone from my county, whether it was done now, it was done previously. Of course, these are things that are historic in nature. Some of them people were given permits 15 years ago, 10 years ago, some were given 5 years ago. And if you were given that permit and you were given an occupation license for you to be able to lease out or rent out premises, or for people to occupy that particular premises, and you actually went and signed and said that yes, this building has all the necessary things, then expect a show cause letter.
As a county official.
As a county official. I said this during my campaigns. I know it was used against me, but I still stand to my words, because you can't have a whole county being held at ransom because of someone's greed. Thirdly, if you built illegally and there's nothing that we can be able to do to fix the problem, you'll have to come down. It's as simple as that.
But demolition is last resort.
Demolition would be the last resort, yes.
Okay.
Again, I'm not a vampire. I was just going to come in and just say that destroy. First option would be, let us look at it. Did you do this? Was it a mistake? Let's try and regularize that particular mistake.
Okay.
If it is not possible for us to be able to do it, we have no option. And like I said, I was there myself. Unfortunately, these are the videos that usually don't spread out faster. But if you go to that same area today, and if it rained the same amount of rain right now, you would not expect to see a similar kind of floods. And I was talking to to the transport department that have the public works engineers, and I was telling them I'm already seeing a situation where we're going to have meteorological department has already given us a warning that it's going to rain. And I said, how prepared are you? And the Governor, you have one challenge here. We know some of the areas that are prone to this. We are going to start sorting them out. And that's why I said, the areas that were initially something where water always stays there, this time round, that same period. And by the way, it's rained before. When I became governor, it's rained before. Moy Avenue was a place that was impassable. This time round, of course, it stayed for longer. But my engineers were asking me, how do you know where a blockage is if the water is not going to come in? So first of all, you need to put that into consideration. We're going to have to be very strict.
On the next
we will extremely be tough. We will be extremely strict. Right now, those people, there's been a lot of changes in the department that issues out. There's permits and licenses. When I came in, even before we got in the CECs, I did a bit of reshuffles in the people who are doing these approvals here and there. So yes, we're going to be seeing a lot of changes.
Okay.
And by the way, there's a lot of young people, who are actually doing quite an excellent job.